or I gather, or stroke.
Well, I was told
David.
stroke.
Hi, David.
Okay.
Hi, Michael.
Hi,
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
how's everybody?
Good.
Hey.
Hi,
Happy
Victor.
Thursday.
Hi, David Massey. I loved your Christmas card.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so cute.
Thank you, everybody.
That's my the best Christmas card I get every year is the Massey family.
Oh,
No.
thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I really like those, so I have a little bit of pride in them.
You get fewer and fewer Christmas cards these days.
Yeah, that's right.
That's kind of why I like them. It's a good summary of the year, and it's a more.
David, I'll look forward to receiving mine if I ever get one.
No, Jeff, no need to look.
Jeff, you can have mine.
Jeff, you?
Oh,
I haven't opened mine yet. You can have it, Jeff.
Did you leave the vacuum out?
I appreciate that, Vicky. Thanks.
How bad would it be if there's somebody on here who didn't get one?
Well,
Yeah.
That's kind of why everyone gets one.
Wait, you thought I was kidding?
Jeff, did you move and not tell anybody?
I'm kidding.
Hey, did everybody else get the gift card in theirs?
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
thanks.
Ixnay with Bornstein on that one.
That was very generous. Very generous. Thank you.
We used to get we used to get our Hanukkah gifts from my parents, and my brother would always come up to me and inflate the amount that he got. Oh, okay. No, I didn't get that much. Sorry.
God bless siblings.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to meet your brother.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrific.
Speaking of Jeff and Mike Gonzalez, remember Mike's demotion?
Yes.
So Mike worked for Cal-Am Water, and he and Don Kendall did this video. We all had bottles of water on our tables.
Yeah.
From Cal-Am Water, and they did a video of them filling up the bottles in hazmat suits in the toilet in the bathroom.
Toilet.
Oh, God.
Right.
Thank you for remembering. Thank you for remembering, Vicky. Vicky,
That was a classic. That was a classic.
nice of you to remember. Thank you.
Vicky, were you one of the girls, the women that had to do something?
Yeah, we were the little. I was little. We were all fairy tale. characters, yeah.
I was a mean Martha Stewart with
Thanks,
really
Nate.
sharp knives.
Yeah, but that was when we were politically incorrect, and because he was Mexican, we did a gang theme.
Yes. That was bad.
It was bad.
It was fun though. I had a great time. That was one of
But
the
the
best.
stud and his muffins were
The
there.
stud and the muffins. Yep.
Reprised their
Oh,
act
yes.
for my demotion.
Oh.
It was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
I actually have photos of the stud and the muffins somewhere.
I do too.
was
I was
Aaron-
looking for
Aaron
mine the
that-
other day and I couldn't find them.
And only one muffin's left.
I know.
Wow. All these people.
Of the three of them.
Yeah,
I know.
only one muffin.
What year was that, Vicky?
Well, he actually,
That's
I was,
Judy's
he
year.
was president of the he was president of the Rotary Club the year I came in. So it would have been 99
To 2000.
to 2000. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
right.
but the
The year
first
before
appearance
I
was
was
at-
governor.
No, the first appearance was at Judy's
Judy's
demotion.
demotion. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's when the demotions were good.
Yeah.
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 That was when
That's when the-
clever people.
That's when the presidents were good.
Oh,
You came after that, right, Martin?
Thank you, Martin. Before me and Vicky, I guarantee you that.
The demotions are much better when you have somebody to really laugh at.
I miss Rick Lemo.
Yeah.
I
really.
did not
Remember Rick
laugh at
Lemos,
my
yeah.
demotion. I did not
No,
laugh
you
at my demotion.
you were so pissed. You were
I was so pissed.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We had that welcoming committee of George Bush and who else was there? Sarah Palin. And we had the cutouts of them. Oh, and John McCain to welcome you and greet you, Martin.
Yeah, I remember. I particularly have blanked out most of it because the one thing that keeps coming to mind is Tom Hare's butt.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember that.
No one was quite as lucky as myself. I had Bud Sweeney as the master of ceremonies, and I think every other Jew in the club wanted to resign after that.
oh,
They were up in arms.
really?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Anybody ever hear from Bud? Is Bud still alive?
Yeah, he
he's a-
is, but his wife isn't well, so he's a caregiver to his wife. He says. But I just got an email from him yesterday, Christmas.
Where is he? Where is he, Jerry?
Still here in Thousand Oaks.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, Rotary Club of Thousand Oaks. I'm glad everybody is here today. We have a great program lined up. Just remember that if you're not talking, if you would stay on mute, and if you want a better view of the speaker, just go and hit speaker view at the right-hand corner. We are also back live streaming on YouTube, on the Thousand Oaks YouTube channel, so you can go there and also watch it. Today we are doing the zinger again, so best zinger or one-liner in the chat box today gets the $10 Habit gift card. So open it up and let's get going. And in that vein, let's go to our joke contest. Today we have Jennifer Pippi Long Stompings Strong versus Carol Killer Mockingbird Robinson. So over to our golden voice ringmaster, Mr. David Massey. Take it away.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the last of the semifinals today. Last week, we saw Carol Freeman move into the championship round. Today, we'll decide whether Jennifer or Carol will move on to face her next week for all the money. We're not sure how much money, but all of it. We flipped a coin. Carol is going first today. Carol, go ahead and give us your joke.
All right. So Harold and Maude were watching TV one night, and Harold said, "Sweetie, would you like some ice cream?" Maude replied, "Well, yes, that would be wonderful." So Harold disappeared into the kitchen, and after a few minutes, he returned and asked Maude if she'd like some chocolate syrup on her ice cream. She said, "Yes, that would be nice, but maybe you should write it down so you don't forget." Harold insisted he could remember two things and disappeared into the kitchen again. He returned quickly and asked Maude if she'd like some whipped cream on top of the chocolate syrup on top of the ice cream. Maude said, "Why, yes, that would be lovely. But don't you think you should write it down so you don't forget?" Harold insisted once again that he shouldn't have any trouble remembering three things. Once again, Harold returned and asked Maude if she'd like chopped nuts and cherry on top of her ice cream. She was happy to have some extra goodies in her ice cream, but suggested to Harold that he really ought to write this all down. Harold assured her that he could remember quite well what she wanted on her ice cream. He disappeared back into the kitchen. Maude could hear cupboard doors being opened and closed, and many minutes passed. Finally, Harold returned with a tray, and on the tray was a plate of scrambled eggs, sausage, and a cup of coffee. Maude looked at the tray of food and said, "Harold, you forgot the toast."
All right, Jennifer, let's hear your joke.
Okay, so Barack Obama walks into a bar, but he's invisible. The bartender says, "Okay, I'll bite. Why are you invisible?" Barack says, "Well, I found a bottle on the beach, then I rubbed it, and then importantly, a genie came out. The genie said I could have 3 wishes. For my first wish, I said, let me say this, and this is profoundly important. I want Michelle to marry me. I love her, and I think America will love her too." That wish was granted. For my second wish, I said, like all patriotic Americans, I'm deeply patriotic, and I want to be president of the United States so I can serve my country. That wish was granted also. And then for my third wish, I started by saying, let me be clear.
Oh, whoa. All right. Poll is going to launch. Get your votes in. We're going to see who moves on to the final round. All right, voting is up. Get your vote in. I see we have one zinger already in the chat box. Let's see if we got some good ones coming in for this contest. Here we go. We've got 10 more people or so to vote. Make sure you get your vote in. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. And moving on to the next round is Jennifer Pippi Long Stompings Strong next week into the finals. So
Ladies and gentlemen,
congratulations.
we'll have our two champions, Carol and Jennifer, going up against each other next week for all the money for this amazing trophy that Carol already gave to us, and big cash prizes and other
All right,
assortments that I can find in my garage.
let the trash talking begin before next week. And here we go. All right, Andrea, would you do guest introductions, please?
I would love to. I feel like we shouldn't introduce this person as a former member, but we have Mike Herbert with us again this week. Yay. And welcome. And we also have the pleasure of our jokester, Jennifer Strongo's son, Max Smith. Welcome, Max. And that's it.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right, now it's to Jennifer for inspirational moment. Jennifer.
Well, since today seems to be the theme is humor and comedy and laughter, I was trying to be inspired and after choosing my joke. And so what I decided to do is really, I wanted to just read some quotes, because to me, one of the best things about coming to Rotary is laughing. And gosh knows we all need to laugh during this crazy year and these crazy times. And so I've really come to appreciate it even more so in 2020. So I just thought I'd read some quotes from some famous people that you might know. So this was said by Maya Angelou: laugh as much as possible. Always laugh. It's the sweetest thing one can do for oneself and one's fellow human beings. Oscar Wilde once said, "It is a curious fact that people are never so trivial as when they take themselves seriously." Dwight D. Eisenhower mentioned that a sense of humor is part of the art of leadership, of getting along with people, and of getting things done. Charlie Chaplin said, "To truly laugh, you must be able to take your pain and play with it."
That's good.
Mark Twain said, "Against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand." There is a Jewish proverb that states, "As soap is to the body, so laughter is to the soul." The philosopher Plato once said, "Even the gods love jokes." And finally, from Phyllis Diller, "A smile is a curve that sets everything straight." So please join me in continuing with the laughter, but first, the Pledge of Allegiance. So please put your hands on your hearts and let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was terrific. Greatly appreciated. Song this week is coming to us via Carol Robinson, and it's a classic, "God Bless America," from Irving Berlin, from the old, and how many people remember the Ed Sullivan Show? So from Ed Sullivan Show, here we go.
God bless America, land that I love. beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. Guide her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
All right, great. I don't think I've ever seen Irving Berlin actually sing before, so that was a
Can I make a
great,
quick comment?
Yes.
It's a little historical note about that song. The reason all the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and others were in that is because he turned over all the rights to that song to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America forever.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great trivia. Thanks, Ken.
My
Wonderful.
pleasure.
That's a
Bye.
wonderful story. And that was a beautiful. Thank you, Carol, for finding that and putting that together for us. Okay, time for fine session. And Victor, unmute and let me know if you want me to share screen or you're going to share screen.
I can share the screen. That's
All
okay.
right, it's over to you. So go ahead.
So today's fine session, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I thought I could make it related to where I am now at the Conejo Valley Unified School District. So we'll have correct answers for $50, incorrect answers for $100. Sound good? Start out with my friend Jerry Robings. Jerry's here, right? How many schools does CVUSD have? 21, 24, 27, 31, or I don't know, I barely made it through one of them, but don't check the records. You're muted, Jerry. Jerry, you're muted. There you go.
31. 31.
Nope, 27.
27.
27. All right, next, Mike Jansen. Mike's here, right?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, which of the following school districts are larger than Conejo Valley Unified School District? Ventura, Simi Valley, Camarillo, none of those, or CVUSD is the best, so who cares anyway?
I would say D.
You're right, D is none. Conejo Valley is the largest school district in the county. The next one is let's say, Michelle Nash. Michelle's here. Which of the following was recently named a National Blue Ribbon School? This just happened about a month or so ago. One of our elementary schools. That's a hint.
Thank you. I would say Maple. Weathersfield.
Weathersfield.
That's right.
So first time in the school's history, by the way. They did a tremendous amount of progress at that school moving forward. So next one, how about my friend Hader? He's here. Yeah, you're here.
I'm here.
So what's the size of the CVUSD annual budget? 100 million, 150 million, 200 million, 500 million, or I pay too much taxes anyway, don't remind me.
Do you have any money though?
Not cash on hand, let's just say on paper.
Exactly. I'll say 200 million.
That's right, 200.
Yes.
Next one, Paul Dryman. Paul's here, right? Paul, what's the current CVUSD enrollment? How many students do we have? 16,000, 18,000, 20,000, 25,000, or 26,237?
D, 25,000.
18.
I was close.
18,000. Our highest, just FYI, in the school district, we had about 22,500 kids at one time. That's the largest student population we ever had. And the lowest is actually where we are right now. So the next one, Jim Friedel. What two charter schools operate in Thousand Oaks using CVUSD facilities? Mates and Bridges, Chutes and Ladders, Oaks Christian and Robles, Titan Falls and Triumpho, whatever, CVUSD is the best anyway.
Mates at the old Meadows School, and Bridges is University. What was Bridges?
You're right. Bridges is Park Oaks.
Park Oaks, right.
Yep. So two of the schools, elementary schools that district closed in the late 2000s, early 2010s, 11s, now being operated by two charter schools. Next one, about Lois. Lois Curran-Klein, you here? Lois is here. Amgen's the largest employer in Thousand Oaks. Who's next? Is it Amazon, Conejo Valley, Los Robles, Penny Mac, the City of Thousand Oaks, or Skyworks? You're muted, Lois. There you go.
Am I unmuted?
Yes,
Okay, Los Robles.
it's actually Conejo Valley Unified.
Okay.
Thank you. Next one is Jennifer Strong. So CVUSD serves more students than Cal Lutheran University. True or false? Or like chocolate peanut butter, they're a good combination.
I'm going to say that's probably true.
That's true. That's right. So I think Cal Lutheran has, I don't know, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 students.
Right. I have a student in each.
Okay.
You get the well?
So one, a historical one, let's see. How about Karen Fernari? So schools in Conejo Valley were once part of which district? Camarillo, Oxnard, Pleasant Valley, or Las Virgenes?
Wow. Wow. I'll go with Camarillo.
Actually, it was Oxnard.
Wow.
They were part of the original Oxnard high school district up in through the 70s. So last one. Carol Freeman. It's been so much fun, and I learned we have a great school system, we have a great community, we have a great Rotary Club. None of the above or all of the above.
All of the above.
That's right. That's right. So thanks for playing, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Got a little bit of a history and some information about the school district.
Great job. Thank you, Victor. Well done. Well done. Excellent. All right. Let's go to fun time, Pat McCoy. So Pat, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Let's see here. We are getting ready to do our poker draw. Now, we had 2 winners in a row. Right before the Thanksgiving break, we had Max win. Then after the break, we had Hater win, $5 each. So let's keep this roll going. Okay, here we go. And it's a red coin, Mario Diaz. Oh, well.
All right. I guess we roll over.
We roll over. Next time it's going to be $10. So our next event is our 2 truths and a lie. And our one and only Jim Friedel has got a great one for us. Jim, turn on your mute button.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Now that you're on, we've got the list up in front. The way it's going to go is Jim's going to read them. We're going to vote. When the time ticks out, Jim is going to come back and read them. You know, Jim, normally we tell everybody what the truth is first. This time, let's change it up. Save the truth for last, okay? When you read them.
Okay. So these are...
Okay, David, take it away.
All right, so you've got the poll. It is launched. We've got which of the ones is a lie, so you can read them on the screen there, 1, 2, and 3. So voting is open. Read and vote, and let's see. We will find out which one is the lie. Now, the club has been very good recently at detecting the lie, so let's see how it goes today. We've got about 15 more seconds, so get your votes in. All right, this was looking, that's going to be interesting. 10 more seconds. We've still got about 10 people out that need to vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, and last call. All right, here we go. End of polling. And I'm going to share the results and turn it over to Jim to walk us through. All right, Jim.
Okay, so Pat, what did you want me to do? The lie last?
Yeah, the lie last.
Okay. Well, then I'll go, let's see. I detained a naked man while he was high on PCP in the dean's office at Pepperdine Law School. Absolutely true. I was standing in the lobby waiting to talk to somebody in that office. Naked man walks right past me and all the staff in there just freaked out. And so I followed him into the dean's office and the dean wasn't in there. And I just basically kept talking to him while he was freaking out and sitting in the dean's chair until the cops arrived. That was that story. So that was true. Let's see. So I might offend everybody here, but I actually did eat someone else's puffed up lasagna noodle. I was probably 18 at the time, and it was a football team party, and it was one of those, we had a beer chugging contest. Somebody lost it all, and for $20, I was able to wash it off. So let me just say that. And I got $20. And then the final one is not true at all, although I have been in a stunt plane out of the Santa Paula airport with a friend's dad who did all of the crazy loops and spins and twirls and air hammer drops, but I didn't actually have to land the plane.
All right, great, Jim. Good job. You fooled the club today.
Yeah.
You see why I wanted him to do the lie last. I knew
Yeah.
everybody was going to trip out on that one. Thanks a lot, Jim. That was one of the best. Appreciate it.
And sorry about those that you were having lunch during this time period when you got that little bit of a note. So, all right, let's go to announcements. And first of all, I'd like to have John Bradley wants to make an announcement. So, John, over to you.
Now I guess it works.
Yeah, there you are.
The club got an announcement yesterday from Los Robles Hospital, and I just wanted to share it with you. Los Robles is concerned about rumors about overcrowded conditions in hospitals and lack of medical care. They put out a notice that asked all of us to circulate among the community. It basically says, we want to assure you we are busy, but we are safe and have beds and capacity available to care for all patients. Like the rest of the country, we're seeing an increase of admissions to the hospital. It's a combination of winter volume and COVID cases. However, if needed, we have surge plans ready to go, but we're not there yet. We're prepared to care for our patients and community during these extraordinary times. That's a kind of a summary of the note. But again, the request from Natalie and Amy was to get that word out to the community that there is not a crisis in our local area for healthcare.
All right, great. Thank you, John. Jennifer,
Thank you.
over
Good
to
to
you.
know.
I just wanted to make a really quick announcement about our holiday party next week. Thank you to all of you who are participating in the gift exchange. I think it's going to be really fun. Hopefully you've all received my email with your gift recipient assignment, and hopefully you've already gotten them in the mail, or you're getting ready to send it shortly so that everybody gets theirs by next Thursday. Also, just wanted to let everybody know, and as a reminder, we're having an ugly sweater contest. So this is very serious, and I want you all to plan. And so if you'd like to participate, please do. And it should be a lot of fun. So thanks.
All right, great. Thank you, Jennifer. I have just a few announcements also, and then we'll see if anybody else does. So you should have received notice that we had our vote for the 4 new incoming board members for John Bradley's year 2021-2022. Want to thank everybody who participated and agreed to be on the slate of candidates. We had a great group this time. It just amazes me always that the talent this club puts up every year for these board positions. So the 4 selected to serve next year are Kara Buss, Jason Corey, Nikki Richardson, and Steve Stanley. So congratulations to those 4, and I look forward to having you on the board next year. Second, I wanted to just mention that every meeting, probably for the last 3 months, I have put up an announcement about a group of young kids in our community, Zoomers to Boomers. You may have seen that. And I want to just shout out to Michelle Nash's son, Eddie, who got a nice article in the current Acorn. And I just wanted you to read it because I think it's a very uplifting and just is a great example of the young people in our community, and one of the kids of our Rotarians learning from her mom. Eddie Nash, all it takes is a bag of groceries to bridge the generation gap. The Westlake High School senior has spent the pandemic performing no contest grocery deliveries for older adults and immune compromised residents in Thousand Oaks so that they can get the food and goods they need to safely shelter in place. He also offers free tech support to grandparents who need help learning how to navigate Zoom so that they can attend church services online and chat with their families face to face. Eddie has enlisted several dozen friends to help as well. In May, the 17-year-old launched the Thousand Oaks chapter of Zoomers to Boomers, a nationwide organization that recruits members of Generation Z to deliver groceries free of charge to those who need to stay home due to the COVID-19 issues. He's recruited 25 of his fellow teens to volunteer. So this is just a great example. And if you need help, or you know somebody that needs help, technical help or grocery help or whatever it is, use Zoomers to Boomers. These kids are fantastic, and what a great example for our community. So Michelle, congratulations to you and your son for a great job. Wonderful. And finally, I would like to just say again that our Rotary Foundation International's annual fund is the backbone of Rotary's work. It's the work that we do not only in our local community, but across the world. And the dollars that we give as a club and each member gives to the annual fund comes back to us in local projects. And we do some great local projects over the years. This year, our district designated funds, which is what comes back to us from Rotary International, are being used in a great project with James Storehouse for foster kids. We're helping the kids that are aged out of foster care get up and running, because oftentimes once they leave the system, they have no assistance, they have no help. So that we help them get apartments set up, we help them get kitchens set up, and we're starting one of the roundtables, a mentorship program of 10 people who will mentor them for a year to help them figure out how to set up checking accounts, how to get resumes put together, how to balance a financial statement, a lot of life skills that they have never had parents to help them on. And it's just an incredible program, but that's what our annual fund does. That's what your dollars do when they go out into the annual fund. So in order to help our district put together a challenge, a 5240 challenge, and that is that they are asking every club to have every member participate by giving something to the annual fund. And if our club's 5240 average for all members to the annual fund, then we will be recognized at the district. So in order for us to really meet this challenge, we need everybody to participate. Even if it's just $1, even if you just give $1, that will be important to the annual fund, because we're going to get some of that dollar back for our local projects. I'm just curious, how many of you actually have a login to Rotary International's account? All right, if you don't, please go to Rotary International or Rotary.org and get yourself logged up. And it's very easy to give. Once you log in, up in the right-hand corner is a button that says donate. You just have to click that button and it will take you to a page. And there will be a choice. You can click annual fund. If you click that, then you just scroll down and you enter your information and how much you want to give. And again, if it's $1 or $5, whatever the amount, it's important that we have everyone participating. You can also simply email Chris Steele and say, I would like to give X dollars to annual fund. This challenge ends in 2 weeks. So I'm really urging everybody to be a participant to the annual fund and make our club, as we always are, a leader in the district by having everybody participate at some level. And let's really make it work. All right, this is really, really important. All right, so with that in mind, I'm ready to move on to Happy Dollars. And I believe, oh, I got something, somebody makes an announcement. Is that Susan? Oh, no, Happy Dollars. Okay, so Happy Dollars, I believe, is going to be run by David Harris today. because we had to pass over him last week. So David, if you will unmute. And
I thought I was
then-
doing it. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
off. So I'm off the hook, David?
You're off the hook today. We didn't get to do Happy Dollars, so we're going to move you to next week. So David, you're up for Happy
Okay.
Dollars. And unmute, David. Well, Michael, you might be up.
There we go.
There we go. All right, good.
Okay, who's first?
I'd love to go. David?
Jeff?
Yeah, I have a few Happy Dollar donations. First of all, my good friend and former Rotarian Chris Salto snuck in while we were all talking. So say hello to Chris. He's here to listen to the program today. Jennifer, where are you? Jennifer, oh, these are all $10 each. Jennifer Strong, thanks for calling it a holiday party. I'll probably show up now. I don't go to Christmas parties. I just go to holiday parties. You get it,
You're
right?
very welcome.
And then lastly, Jim Friedel, you told me you wouldn't tell that story about detaining me in the office, but I want everyone to know I was not arrested. Okay, so another $10 for that. Thank you.
David, me, pick me.
Susan.
I'd like to donate 20 Happy Dollars, and that's because Hospice of the Conejo just finished their Festival of Trees decorating contest, and we sold 20 of our 23 trees. 4 trees were purchased by people that wanted us to donate those to families in need, and those went to a project, Many Mansions housing project in Oxnard that houses veterans and their families. So they got these beautiful trees. The 3 trees that weren't sold, Hospice of the Conejo donated to families at the Safe Passage program housing. You should have seen these kids when we delivered these trees. It was wonderful. So 20 Happy Dollars. And Maria Prescott, I hope you're enjoying your tree. She bought one.
Thank you, Susan. Anybody next?
David, I have one.
Lois.
Casey?
Okay, I am going to give $5, and I have very happy news for me. I just ended my 9th year as president of the Hartman Institute, which is an international value science professional association. And I'm so glad that it lasted as it did, because I now have people that from Australia, England, Germany, and Mexico and the US on the board. So I think they're going to be fine.
Wow.
So I'm just so
Great.
glad that it got wrapped up well.
Anybody else?
I am next. Yay. Choose me.
Maria.
Can I have your
Can you hear
name?
me?
Yeah, I
Can you
don't
hear
know
me?
your name though.
Maria.
Maria, David.
Thank you. You look
Okay.
different on my screen.
All right. Well, I wanted to thank Hospice of the Conejo because every year we get our Jeff holiday tree at the Elks Lot. And this year that didn't seem practical. So we visited the hospice store at the Oaks Shopping Center and we got the most beautiful tree. And I have to tell you that this is a tree that we selected that was already lit, decorated, and best of all, delivered to our home on Sunday. And
Nice.
all the money goes to Hospice of the Conejo, 100%, thanks to the people who decorate these trees. We got ours from Christ the King Church, I think it was. And so I just want to thank Susan Murata and all the crew that helps her at Hospice of the Conejo. Great job. And now it's $5.
Great. Lois, raising your hand.
Can you hear?
Yes, Lois, go ahead.
I want to donate $100. Mine is more of in memory of Raper Johnson. David and I were honored to have hosted 5 fundraisers at our home through Rotary, through the auction. And Rafer and Betsy so graciously participated with us in those 5 dinners and boat rides. And he was truly an American hero. It was such an honor to have known him. I've actually known him for many, many years. And I was actually up for a big award with him. Of course, he won. But I was just an honor to be included in that category. And his life was about friendship, dignity, and honor. And if you haven't read his autobiography, The Best I Can Be, buy it, or I'll loan you mine. He was an amazing man, and it's an amazing, amazing story about his life. He was such a great guy, and I know everybody will miss him.
Great, thank you. Is there somebody else?
I see Tanya's hand up. Tanya's hand's up.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have $5 happy dollars to say that apropos of our recent guest speaker, Allison Moman, my husband and I watched Just Mercy on HBO about a week ago, and it's still playing. It's an interesting movie too. Many thanks to Allison for being with the Equal Justice Initiative.
Thank you. Do we have somebody else?
Yeah,
Christine-
Patricia.
Patricia's up.
Patricia.
I have 25 happy dollars, 20 for George and I celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary, and 5 thank you dollars to Tanya Caligieri, who was so sweet and made all the holiday greeting cards. We weren't able to sign them this year personally, but Tanya put these beautiful cards together and put from Thousand Oaks Rotary, and they're being delivered as we speak to the Meals on Wheels recipients through Senior Concerns. So thank you, Tanya, for doing all of that.
Mike Hebert, for David.
Couldn't hear you, Karen.
Mike Hebert is raising his hand.
Oh, Mike.
Hey, David, I've got $5. That's just to congratulate UCLA football on their great success this year, and in North Carolina, we'll be glued to the TV as they play USC.
Thank you, Mike.
Christina has her hand up. Christina had her hand up.
All right.
Christina?
Thank you. Yes, appreciate that. I would love to put in $5, one for each decade of experience needed to participate in the 50 and Better Fab lecture series program. And I am now eligible. These lecture series are offered with a variety of different topic areas, and the registration and participation for options start in mid-January. So if anyone's looking for some additional type of interesting topics out there, then love to see some people at some of the lectures.
Thank you. Do we have any more?
Martin Anderson, David.
Martin?
Yeah, I have a $1 question for Mike Hebert. Do you really have live TV where you live? Because I thought you had to go down to the movie theater and watch the newsreels.
COVID closed all the theaters, Martin.
All right, David, thank you for happy dollars. Appreciate that. And all right, it's time for our program, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Bornstein. So Jeff, over to you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Dave.
Karen.
Appreciate it. Our speaker today is Mr. Daniel Meisel, who is the Regional Director of the Anti-Defamation League Santa Barbara Tri-Counties office. He became Regional Director in 2019 after nearly a decade of volunteer leadership for the regional and national organizations. He previously served as Regional Board Chair, Chair of the Region's Civil Rights Committee, Chair of ADL's National Civil Rights Task Force on Education Equity, and a member of multiple other local and national ADL committees. His ADL work has focused on addressing bias, hate, and bigotry, advocating for civil rights, seeking equitable and inclusive means of narrowing educational achievement and opportunity gaps, and dismantling the school to prison pipeline. Previously, he had formed KPOC Pictures, a motion picture development and production company, with his wife, writer-director Amy Wendell. Dan co-wrote and produced the couple's award-winning independent feature entitled All She Can, a fictional drama about a Mexican-American teenager's struggle to pursue her college dreams. Before turning to film, Dan was a First Amendment and general litigation attorney with San Francisco's Cooper, White, and Cooper. He serves on the nonprofit boards of the Santa Barbara Education Foundation and the Wendell Foundation. He served 2 terms as Social Action Trustee and Chair of the Social Action Committee of Congregation B'nai B'rith. He also previously served 2 terms on the UC Hastings College of Law Alumni Board of Governors. Dan graduated with honors from Wesleyan University and earned a JD from UC Hastings, where he was a member of the Hastings Law Journal and chair of its moot court board. He currently lives in Santa Barbara, where he grew up, incidentally, lives with his wife and their 3 sons. And before I turn it over to you, Dan, Dan's gonna need to share some things. And before I turn it over to you, you might want to take a moment to introduce Mark, because he didn't get introduced. So it's all yours.
I would love to. Thank you so much for the introduction, Jeff. And thank you to Dave and everybody for having me here. Mark Goldstein is our board chair, and he's a Newbury Park resident. And he is in many ways our ambassador to Ventura County. He expressed interest in joining today. And so I appreciate you extending him that invitation and for his being here. This strikes me as a really fun group. This has been one of the more kind of uplifting meetings that I've joined recently. And so it's really nice to see. And there's this wonderful mood of kind of holiday end of year feelings. And I don't want to bring you down. In all of this pandemic and amidst of all that's going on and the challenges to our businesses, you've invited me on to talk about the issues that ADL deals with. And so I appreciate that honor and the time you've set aside to do this. My thought is to give a little bit of background about what ADL is for those that know nothing about it, a little bit of a taste of what work it does, and then to delve into just a few issues that are kind of the top of my mind and my experience lately. I am the regional director, as Jeff mentioned, of the Santa Barbara Tri-Counties region. And so the territory that I'm responsible for is Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, and San Luis Obispo County. So from Westlake all the way up to Paso Robles. And so a lot of what we've been experiencing over the last, 6 months, there's been a lot of activity in Ventura County. And so before I jump to my PowerPoint, I should say we're a 501c3. We're a bipartisan organization. I'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm just interested in a show of hands as we finish this election season, how many people felt that this election season was the most racially polarized election season that they've experienced in recent memory. If that was your experience, just raise your hand. I'm just kind of interested in your feedback from what you experienced in Ventura County. Yeah, I see a lot of hands. Dovetails with a lot of reports that we got, and I'll delve into a little bit of that background. So I'll see if I can share screen. We didn't really set this up ahead of time, but give me a moment to move a few things around. And let's see what I can do here. All right. That should be honing in on my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So the ADL was formed, many people might think in response to World War II and the Holocaust, but it really predates that. Back in 1913, it was founded. And a popular narrative is that it was founded after the trial of Leo Frank, who was a Jewish businessman, a factory manager down in Georgia, who was accused of a sexual assault and murder, and then convicted of it, although many people doubted his guilt. And after conviction, because the governor had concerns about his guilt, he commuted the sentence from a death sentence to life in prison, hoping to offer Leo Frank opportunity to eventually prove his innocence. But after that decision, the decision was so incendiary that a group, actually a mob, pulled Leo Frank from his jail cell and lynched him down in Georgia. And many people who were of that mob later subsequently formed the KKK. So the Ku Klux Klan. So his murder was connected with the formation of the Ku Klux Klan. Around the same time, a group of lawyers in Chicago actually were the ones to found the Anti-Defamation League in response to general anti-immigrant sentiment that was resulting in anti-Semitism. And so the organization was formed, but then the situation down in the anti-Semitic elements following the trial of Leo Frank really seemed to propel the organization membership going forward as Jews around the country were concerned by Leo Frank's treatment and the process or lack of process in that case. But from the first day, the mission of ADL was not just focused on Jews and anti-Semitism. The mission statement was to stop the defamation of the Jewish people, which is how they referred to addressing anti-Semitism at the time, and to secure just and fair treatment for all. The concept being that the Jewish community as a minority community would only be safe if all minority communities were safe as well. So what blossomed over time was an organization that was both a leading a leading organization with respect to addressing and responding to anti-Semitism, but also in responding to all forms of hate, bias, and bigotry. And so what has developed since those early days is really kind of a broad civil rights agenda, broad civil rights policy book that ADL has maintained and advocates for. The structure of the organization is roughly divides into three elements. One is investigating incidents and policies and trends with data. Another is advocating for policy responses to problems that are evidenced by the data. And then the third is education of students and adults in schools and in workplaces about addressing biases and how our experiences impact the way that we interact with others. Just structurally, we are not chapters. We're one organization with regional offices. So this map is a little too small for you to see, but we have kind of a group of offices in Southern California. Ours, as I mentioned, is for the Tri-Counties area. And then there are 24 other offices around the country. So we're fortunate to have offices in our area. Once you get above San Luis Obispo County, the next nearest office is up in San Francisco. And some offices, like the offices in Seattle, actually have 5 states that they cover. So just thinking generally, what kind of trends are we experiencing and why are we expressing concern? We keep a lot of data at ADL because data is what informs us about trends and influences policy. And so 2 things happen on our tracking of anti-Semitism. One is that we do surveys every 10 years about anti-Semitic attitudes. And those attitudes have shown, showed a dramatic drop off from kind of 1950 and earlier in anti-Semitic attitudes domestically, which is great. So, those attitudes that used to be up to 30, 40% of the population are down to 15, 12% of the population. However, what we've seen very recently is a dramatic increase in anti-Semitic incidents. So these are both incidents reported to us and incidents reported and hate crimes recorded by the FBI or other law enforcement agencies. And so there's an obvious question of, does the increase in incidents mean that there's an increase in anti-Semitic attitudes? Or does it just mean that those smaller population that has these anti-Semitic attitudes are becoming more active and transitioning to action from attitude? And I would say the answer is probably the latter, that it's a smaller group, it's that maybe from the early 40s or 50s that are engaging in more conduct. But the concern then is, how does that conduct then overflow to a normalization of these attitudes that can flow into a larger population? So that's the trend that I'll talk about. Again, we're not just focused on anti-Semitism, we're focused on all kinds of biases. And this is another part of the trend we're seeing recently with respect to white supremacist propaganda. And by white supremacy here, I don't mean kind of structural racism that may favor a white population. I'm really talking about extremist white supremacists and white nationalists. And just in kind of the incidents of propaganda that we see here reflected on school campuses and off campuses, just in community, you see this dramatic increase in the last 3 years. when most of that propaganda is propagated by real extreme groups, either mostly on the far right or on a far end of kind of a biased or prejudiced spectrum. And I'm not going to talk much about that today. I give whole other talks about those groups and what they do, and we provide backgrounders for law enforcement on some of those groups that have more violent tendencies. But I did want to point out these two great books that dive into some kind of really uplifting transitions from people that were living in these extremist silos and had some experience that transformed their thinking. And so if you're thinking, okay, how do we change the thought of somebody who is so biased and prejudiced? These are two great examples. Rising Out of Hatred is about Derek Black, whose godfather is David Duke. His father is the current Grand Master of the Ku Klux Klan and the owner of, I think Stormfront is their website. And Derek Black was kind of the heir apparent to running this website. And then he went to college and had a complete transformation over 4 years, a transformation of thought. And the other similar story is Megan Phelps Roper, who was a member and brought up in the Westboro Baptist Church. It was a virulently anti-gay church that would do protests at the funerals of US servicemen. The church appointed her to be their Twitter ambassador. And so she ran their Twitter account and was inundated with tweets from people who disagreed with her. And rather than shunning them, she engaged those people in conversations and underwent a real transformation of thinking as a result, and that led her to leave the church. The common thread between these two stories, which I think is a lesson for the non-extreme world as well as the extreme world, is that a change in thinking in directions that we want to fight hate and bias requires two things. It requires communal condemnation of the problematic activity, and it requires engagement. We can't just ignore it. We need to condemn it, and then we need to engage it somehow to change thought practices, thought processes. The nature of the condemnation and the nature of the engagement totally depends on the factual situation. But these are two wonderful examples of extreme condemnation and extreme engagement as well. What are we seeing in Ventura County? Well, back to this kind of election experience and the instances around social justice that arose, I wouldn't say arose over the summer, they came to another head over the summer, but they've been with us for a long time. But the emergence of the Black Lives Matter movement, this is a pretty typical exchange that we've seen recently, is you'll see a response to Black Lives Matter sign, you'll see All Lives Matter. And I would say one of the key points to walk away from this presentation, if any, is that the precision of language is so important. It's so important in understanding people's attitudes and how to engage others. So All Lives Matter as a phrase itself sounds like it's expanding on the message of Black Lives Matter to become more inclusive. But really, when All Lives Matter is said in response to a Black Lives Matter statement, I think what is often missed is that the meaning of the Black Lives Matter statement is that the status quo of our purporting to want all lives to matter is not being realized when Black lives don't matter. So that Black Lives Matter statement usually means that for all lives to matter, Black lives must matter too. So when the response to that statement of Black Lives Matter is All Lives Matter, instead of being kind of a broadening statement, it functions like a rejection of the initial message. So we see these kind of exchanges quite often, and I, without context, can't tell you what the All Lives Matter sign means. In this case, the Black Lives Matter sign appeared at a Thousand Oaks residence. A resident of Thousand Oaks put the signs up on the left on their home door. And a few days later, somebody put the All Lives Matter sign on that same door. So it was a local resident. So it was clearly a response to the Black Lives Matter sign. Again, without any more, I wouldn't have much more context, but 2 days later, this resident believes that the same neighbor ended up posting this sign on her car, which is Jewish lives don't matter. So we have an escalation from what seemed kind of like a maybe intended political response or a political movement response to something that is much more threatening, bigotry and attacking somebody for, again, their appearance, who they are, some part of their identity. this is a concerning escalation that we're seeing not just in extremist groups, but among more mainstream conversation. So we think about how are we interacting with other, and we think of the South Coast as a very diverse population, but we may not be experiencing that diversity as much as we think we are. And so I love just a few slides that I actually saw in somebody else's presentation to illustrate this point. This group did a survey of all of the children's books that were published in 2015 to see what kind of diversity are depicted in the characters of those books. And what they found is that 73.3% of the characters in these children's books were white, 12.5% were animals or inanimate objects. And then you see the breakdown of these other populations. So this is what our kids are experiencing as they're introduced to their society through reading and books. 3 years later, there was, in 2018, they returned and did the same study, and there was the most dramatic change was a decrease in the number of white characters, but the biggest increase was with respect to animals and other inanimate objects, not necessarily the increases in other ethnic groups or racial groups were rather small. So just a representation of the extent or lack of extent to which our kids may be experiencing diversity. As adults, we have similar experiences. If we just look at the top 1,200 top grossing films from 2007 to 2018, we see that only 4.5% of the characters, named characters, were Latino or Latinx. Only 3% of them were leads or co-leads. 24% were portrayed as criminals. So again, our experience of other may be limited and is colored by, in many different ways, by mainstream media and our experience of the world beyond ourselves. So that's just the context I want to provide for how does ADL think about bias and why, why does it concern us? How does it concern us? Well, we like to use this as an illustration. Is this what we call the pyramid of hate? And hate, I'm really going to represent kind of a full spectrum of hate here. We talk about the lowest foundation of this pyramid being kind of where many of us reside, with kind of just basic biases, maybe stereotypes that we rely on, a fear of difference, maybe a natural inclination towards others that are similar to us. I think there's some of this in all of us. But many times when we experience these things, there's some kind of corrective behavior, or there's some kind of communal response that makes us aware of these problems, or these natural inclinations, or inclinations we learned from role models or parents. If, however, we don't experience that negative feedback as we act on these or express them, then it's all the easier for them to turn into something that's a little bit more problematic. We start acting on those biases. And so action can be bullying, ridiculing, using slurs, name-calling, microaggressions. Here are some other examples, specific examples, school pranks. So now we're acting on these biases. Again, if we aren't checked and corrected, and if these biases, these actions aren't condemned, then we're essentially normalizing them. We're affirming them. And if we affirm them, then we're making it all the easier to move to the next level. That as we're all individually acting on our own biases, now we're creating systems that incorporate those biases. If the systems aren't checked, the next level that we're concerned about is bias-motivated violence. And worst case scenario on these, we've had far too many examples of this recently with Poway and Pittsburgh and El Paso, violence that is purely motivated by somebody's biases. If those aren't checked, the concern is that they turn into something that is much grander in terms of a genocide. So obviously we want to be as low on this pyramid as possible. Our objectives are to intervene as much as possible and to educate as much as possible, so that we, as adults and when we're working with students, that we remain on those lowest rungs of the pyramid. How are these acts of bias? How do we track them? I just wanted to note that on our website, we actually have two great resources. One is a heat map that you can go on. Our website is adl.org, and you can see around the country, we actually post the incidents that are reported to us. And so you can go by city and zoom in and see what kinds of incidents are being reported or where there is a great amount of incidents. In some areas of the country where you don't see a lot of incidents, it may be because we don't have an office, and so there's not much reporting happening. It doesn't mean that those incidents aren't occurring. We also keep hate crimes data is reported to us from the FBI. And so in the most recent report of the FBI, they announced that there were 7,314 hate crimes in 2019, which was an increase. And there were some other key takeaways. It was the deadliest year on record with 51 hate crime murders. That was a huge increase over the last record. Anti-Hispanic hate crimes rose nearly 9% and were the highest ever for that category. Hate crimes targeting individuals based on gender identity rose another 18%. And one of the most stunning takeaways really from this report and previous reports is that we're only talking about a small percentage of law enforcement agencies around the country that are actually reporting whether or not hate crimes occurred. So hate crime reporting is voluntary. Many states have hate crime laws that require hate crime prosecutions or data keeping, but not necessarily reporting to the FBI. So these trends are all concerning. So where, in ADL, and again, the hate crime murders, they've been perpetuated by extremist groups. I want to talk more about who we encounter on an everyday basis and how we're encountering hate on an everyday basis. And one of our chief concerns is where it's occurring online, because so much of our life now is online, and it's increasingly become online with the proliferation of online platforms. And so we do surveys online as well to see what people are experiencing. And so in a survey of 2,000 responses, we asked about what kinds of people are experiencing harassment and what kinds of harassment online. And these were some shocking results that we got, that of those who self-identified as LGBTQ, 65% of them reported experiencing recent harassment online, 50% reported severe harassment online. And you can see the same is true for, well, not quite the same, but large numbers are true for these other groups that responded to the survey. We also asked, where are you? So just from year by year, we see some decrease between 2020 and 2019 in the top category, but we see other increases in other categories. And you'll notice the big jump in the Asian American category, I think, which is related to pandemic and some scapegoating of Asian Americans for the presence of the pandemic. We also were looking at, okay, where are you experiencing these on platforms? And the overwhelming response from our responders was Facebook. And that doesn't necessarily mean because most of it's happening on Facebook. It may mean just that most of them were on Facebook. But this is one of the reasons why Facebook has been kind of a key focus for us in trying to address online hate. So what are people experiencing? Well, they're experiencing imagery. In this is an Aunt Jihadi image. Label was placed on this syrup bottle. And I just want to point out that imagery like this then gets associated with advertising, in this case by Geico. Geico doesn't choose to advertise for this image. Facebook places them where it wants to place them. And it's not intentional, it's probably algorithms, and it's just placing as many ads as they've bought. But you're seeing mainstream advertising right next to hateful speech. And it's not just Geico, but it might be, just a small business who is also connected with hateful conduct. Now, Facebook is generating revenue off of these ads that are being placed next to hateful conduct. And then they can generate more revenue, the more views that they're able to create. So one of the problems is you've got hateful conduct, and it's not, even though the 3%ers are a small group, they have 223,000 people that are following them on Facebook. And when somebody searches for 3%ers, Facebook has algorithms that suggest other sites that they might be interested in. So you have, instead of a response to hate that is a condemnation, what you have is people experiencing an affirmation or an amplification of hate. because Facebook, through its algorithms, is saying, oh, you're interested in this, let me show you other things. So this is our concern with online platforms and how they operate. And there's a Netflix film out now called Social Dilemma that really dives into these concepts and how problematic the exponential amplification of these silos are. We're not interacting with each other, and we're simply connected with others who might have the same biases as we do. We face this exponential increase. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm sorry, was somebody trying to jump in?
Yeah, it's me, it's Jeff. I hate to do this to you, but I knew it was going to happen. Any chance you could find a nice, good place to stop and take some questions?
Yep, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop right now. My last sentence is that, actually 2 last sentences. One is that our response to what we see online is this Stop Hate for Profit campaign that we have done in coalition with these other organizations to really try to we did a month pause in advertising to influence Facebook to really look at how it can better enforce its own user guidelines. And so there are, and we have some technologies that we've put in play to try to address this as well. But it's this concern that also drives our educational work. We as adults aren't just experiencing this, but our students are experiencing as well. So the way that we address it is with educational programming in schools to alert students to the impact of hate speech and hate symbols, being able to recognize it and being able to understand, even on that lowest end of the pyramid, how their own experiences may limit how they see and perceive identities of others, and how what is only viewable to others may influence the way that others perceive them. And so that educational programming is something I'm happy to talk much more about with somebody who's interested and would like to learn more about it. And I'll leave it there and open up for questions.
All right, Dan, thank you so much. All right, if you have a question, if you could either just unmute and ask your question or raise your hand, that would be terrific. So let's see, I see Jason, your hand is up first, so go ahead.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Not question, but also so much of an observation. I definitely haven't seen the same predispositions that the older generations have towards those groups that you mentioned that I've seen in the youth. Are you seeing an age disparagement upon people who think a certain way and at people who don't think a certain way? I've seen some fascinating things with my kids and my kids' friends and how they don't see things necessarily the same way as my father would.
Yeah, it's a great question, Jason. I appreciate that. And the answer is yes. We're seeing that I would say the population that is college age and below have had a ton of exposure. We've seen kind of a massive sea change, particularly with respect to LGBTQ rights, over a time that they're conscious of. And so they seem much more comfortable with other. They seem much more kind of aware of aggression and microaggression and biases. I think they're struggling, though, with those that are maybe graduate school and older, where we're seeing, those people that have morphed kind of an older belief system into the online world and are now encountering younger population online. And so I would say there's a generational divide. And this is why we're concerned about the normalization issue, because with the amplification of everything online, that younger generation that seems much more comfortable with other our concern is they're being influenced with counter messaging from an older generation. So, and our older generation now, particularly with the pandemic, has become very technologically savvy. And it's the primary way that many of us are interacting. So yes, I think I'm very optimistic about the future in terms of addressing bias and hate. But the problem is finding the opportunities for people who are other to interact with each other and do that engagement that's so important, along with the communal condemnation.
Right, I'm sorry, we only have time for one more question, and I'll put that to Vicki. And Dan, this has been fantastic, and we wish we had about another 2 or 3 hours with you. So Vicki, go ahead.
Yeah, you'll have to come back then. Thank you so much. I have a question about the pandemic. It appears to me, I've seen this happen with one friend in particular, that I think there's so much time on their hands. They spend a ton of time on Facebook, particularly, and I agree with Facebook. It's really the algorithms cause you to see more and more and more of what you want to hear. Have you guys seen that people are being influenced really dramatically by that?
By what they experience online?
Yeah, I mean, because people are not, they're online a lot more. And I know I'm not online very much anymore because it's just, I can't do it. It's too distressing. But I see it with my friends. And I also see that that's, for some people, a primary news source. It isn't a secondary, it is where they get their news. So that's my question.
So that's a great point. And so I think I've used this word several times, but I'll use it again. It's this silofication, right? You know, when we're in school, when we're in the workplace, we're constantly interacting with people that are different from us. But what these online platforms enable us to do is to really circle around with people that are similar to us or expressing similar views. And so that's why we're seeing this this expansion of conspiracy theories so quickly. Because people are more relying on their social media communications as a primary source of information. So the answer, I think, is yes. And what we need to do more thinking about is how to counter that. And one possibility is ADL has already experimented with a program where when somebody goes online looking for particular hateful conduct, we're able to tag it, identify it, and then redirect them to counter conduct, so that they're really being sent to possibilities of things that they weren't looking for, but might be interested in exploring. So as we're working with young people, I think it's all a question of, again, how do we widen the avenues to experience where they're getting information from and equip them to question the source and the context for the information that comes to them, so that they're better able to process and distinguish misinformation from valuable information. I think that's our challenge. And I think we're seeing that pivot now. We're seeing the online platforms, and ADL was a big part of influencing these platforms to take responsibility that they are like publishers. They're not just a poster board. They are benefiting and they are curating this content. So they have a responsibility to help especially young people navigate that content towards content of value.
Great, thank you. Dan was gracious enough to put his email address into the chat box, and I assume, Dan, you would be willing to take questions that people might have
Absolutely.
that we weren't able today, so thank you. We would like to give you a presentation for being here today, and Judy, I believe you're going to make the presentation.
So Dan, yes, thank you so much for your really informative presentation. It has been the plan for our club for many years to present a book that is given to a Title I school, and it normally would be signed by you, but we will have it indicate inside that it was presented to you. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And Mark, our board chair, has reminded me to point you to adl.org, where there are many resources for teachers, and our focus is on the classroom. And so explore there, but I appreciate that and look forward to learning more about where it goes.
Great, Dan, thank you again for a great program, very informative, very helpful, and we appreciate that. I want to thank our greeters today, Lois and Karen, our guest introductions, Andrea, Happy Dollars, David Harris, notes were for Susan Murata, our joke contest master, David Massey, inspirational and pledge, Jennifer, song from Carol Robinson, sorry, fine session, Victor, Pat McCoy, Mr. Funtime. Thanks for all of our guests being here. So let's remember that every day is a gift. It's not a guarantee. No matter the holiday you celebrate or the rituals you believe in, celebrate the miracle of being alive today, of having the chance to love and to be loved. So Rotarians, let's do what we do great and go out there and help change the world and make it a better place. And that's all there is for this December 10th. 2020. I hope everybody has a great week, and we look forward to seeing you next week for the holiday party and the ugliest sweater possible for next week. So
Dave,
thank you.
who won the singer, Dave?
And happy Hanukkah.
We're gonna announce that next week. I'm gonna have Martin and Vicky once again decide who got the best singer. So Martin and Vicky will announce next week the best singer in the chat room.
That means we have to read them.
Well, that's true. You will have to read them. I know that's difficult, but
So actually, you got to leave it up for a little while because I wasn't paying attention. So
Okay,
I didn't know I was. Yeah, leave it up for a minute so then I can look
I'm
at
gonna
it.
be on as we have the vocational meeting on now. So those who are on
Okay.
vocational, stay on, and you can continue to read the chat room, you two, and just give
Okay.
us a vote next week. All right.
Stay safe, everyone. Stay healthy. Happy Hanukkah.
You too, Paul.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Hey, Michelle.
Hi and bye. Okay. Here we are. Okay, so last week we had a great idea about giving our appreciation to the essential workers and hospital people, but mainly grocery store, truck drivers, and maybe people that pick the fruits and veggies and that kind of thing. And so we're trying to come up with a plan. We've got 3 award ceremonies going on, one for employees, which will be in January, that we've all been talking about.